Hello everyone and welcome back to VoidSpace Alpha. This is the video that the Discord community has been asking for, which is the Q&A to celebrate us getting to 5,000 subscribers. I know we are late in the sense of we are now at 7,200 subscribers. If I'm completely honest with you, I did not expect it to get that high that quickly. We've been doing this for about 2 months now, so I just want to take this moment at the beginning before we jump into the questions to say thank you genuinely from the bottom of my heart, not just for the subscriber numbers, but for all of the watch time, the comments, the likes, the shares, all of that great stuff. I love reading and responding to all of those comments. So without any further ado, I'm going to chuck some background gaming in here. I have no idea what it might be, and yeah, let's jump into the Q&A. So Deputer asks, are you going to play Starcraft 1? It actually says, are you ever going to play Starcraft 1? And the answer is, I don't know on the channel, if I'm completely honest with you. Starcraft 1 was a game that I did play as a kid. Just in case you don't know me that well, I'm a 32-year-old man from the UK, so Starcraft 1 came out when I was about 8 or 9, I think. I distinctly remember being kind of that age when it came out. And yeah, I really enjoyed it, but the thing with old RTSs is you are playing them for nostalgia benefit. Let's be really honest about the fact that old RTSs are not built like the RTSs from the quote-unquote golden age of RTS, which I think of like Command & Conquer 3, Starcraft 2, Battle for Middle-earth, so they don't really have those modern quality of life features. So if I did play through it, and I'm open to it, if that's something you want to see, leave a comment down below, I'll play through it on the channel. But yeah, it's not super high on the top of my priority lists for right now. I've got other stuff I'd rather be getting on with. But thank you very much for the question. The Storyteller asks, do you regularly watch any esports? If so, which ones? The answer is kind of. I don't watch esports in the sense of I don't watch tournaments like live, and I don't watch, broadcasts, and I don't particularly keep up with matches and rankings and stuff like that. I've got absolutely almost zero interest in any sport in any way, shape or form. So yeah, that goes for football, that goes for rugby, that goes for hockey, that goes for baseball. It's just not my bag. I've never really gelled with sports. I find it very difficult to get excited by that. But that being said, and I'm sure this won't come as a surprise to a lot of you, when it comes to StarCraft 2, if Loco pops up on my feed, I'm sure I'm pronouncing that name correctly, then yeah, I'll watch a couple of those videos, and yeah, I'm not trying to learn from it, I'm just literally enjoying it. So yeah, there's the answer to your question. I watch Loco every now and then. Necron asks, what do you enjoy cooking? If so, what's your favourite thing to cook and or taste? Well, I've got a bit of a confession to make on this one. The answer is yes, I enjoy cooking, but I am, by my own design, so I'm not blaming this on anyone, I'm a very busy man, and that's all my fault. Like, I like to stay really busy. And I had a bit of an epiphany last year, or the end of this year, which was I was in the top 5%. So my bank does this thing, it tells you where you ranked on spending on certain categories. I was in the top 5% of people in the UK that ate out last year. So that means I think I added up all the transactions, and if we work it out to one transaction per day was eating out, and I know there was days, because we had a kitchen refit last year, there was days where I had 3 takeaways, but it was 280 odd transactions, which was over 2/3 of a year, right? So yeah, I've put on quite a bit of weight, so I guess my favourite thing to eat out is takeout. My favourite thing to cook is, I do like a bit of bubble and squeak, and I'd like to make, there's a Jamie Oliver recipe, I'll see if I remember to put it into the description of this. It's like a circular ring of both Lancashire and, I can't remember the other, Cumberland sausage. And then you make some bubble and squeak on the side and some caramelised red onion gravy. But yeah, I haven't made that in a while. My day-to-day thing to cook at home is just scrambled eggs with a bit of sriracha and some sourdough toast. A Piece of Butter asks, do you have a pet? If so, what is his name? Also, what race do you despise playing against in StarCraft 2? So, 2 questions in one. I think the race I despise playing most against in StarCraft 2 is Protoss, just because it gives me the most anxiety playing against them. I'm thinking about cannon rushes, I'm thinking about have they chucked a pylon up somewhere that I'm not looking for, and I'm going to blink a load of stalkers into my base, all that kind of normal StarCraft 2 stuff. I'm training myself at getting better at defending and better at looking for those things. I do have a pet. I have a pet called Hector. He is a golden retriever cross poodle, or a golden doodle. He was 2 last month. So yeah, he's the family dog. My wife is painfully allergic to dogs, so we have a hypoallergenic dog. He's not my ideal dog. My ideal dog would have been my old dog, who was called Charlie. I will put a picture of him on the screen now if I remember to do so. He was a boxador, a Labrador boxer, but sadly he passed away in 2019. So yeah, there's the family pet. Hope you like him. Another question from A Piece of Butter. And why VoidSpace Alpha seems random? Well, like many things, VoidSpace Alpha kind of started as like an idea in my head in my late 20s, and it was originally I wanted to do this with a group of friends, and that sounds great, right? You know, because you want to put stuff online and collaborate with other people, because the sum of everyone's work is often greater than the sum of any one individual's combined. That was the idea behind doing it with a group. But the trade-off for that you don't really realise in your 20s is it's very difficult to get a group of people onto the same page, making the same thing at the same time, as I'm sure anybody who is listening to this has any experience with group work at university or college or school or whatever. You know, it's very difficult to get people to actually do the work. So, and you know, I'm guilty of that just as much as everybody else was. We all didn't really probably have the adult conversation about what we wanted to make, but I still owned the channel. I'd registered it and stuff, so I figured, why not? That seems like the best place to start uploading stuff. And then if that opportunity comes up in the future where we want to do collaborative things, there's at least a brand name attached to it rather than just being me. So yeah, that's the reason for that. Colonel Com asks, favourite game? Okay, that's quite difficult actually. I think from an RTS perspective, I think from nostalgia, Command & Conquer Tiberium Dawn. From a playability, like actually just enjoying the single player campaign, Command & Conquer 3. From a nerdy perspective, I think it's probably Battle for Middle-earth 2. And from just an amazing storytelling game that I've experienced in the last, I was about to say 5 years, but it's probably been closer to 10. I think the best storytelling game that was ever released was The Last of Us. So yeah, those are my current favourite games, but they are subject to change. I mean, I'll always have a soft spot for Halo. I was a Halo kid growing up, and I'll always have a soft spot for Call of Duty, specifically Call of Duty 4, because that was, you know, when I first ever got a job and I came home at the end of the month and I had £600 in my bank account, I immediately spent 280 of it on an Xbox 360 controller and Call of Duty 4 and some Xbox Live subscriptions. So that will always have a special place in my heart. But yeah, those are my current favourite games. I don't like holding on to favourites typically over a long period of time, and I think that's more of as you get older, you don't really tend to have favourite things. You have like things of the moment, but those are my things of the moment right now. Taco Critic asks, hey Ollie, just a couple of questions on your 1v1 series. So that's my Starcraft 1v1, getting better stuff. What builds am I using, and how long is the delay between playing a game and it getting uploaded to the channel? Cheers. So the build I'm using is what I can roughly remember from playing, I think it was Wings of Liberty at the time when Starcraft 2 first came out. So it's supply depot, barracks gets the reactor gets saturated, you send out a Reaper and Scout. I think somebody said recently that has a name in the Discord channel, and it's called the Reaper Expand. I'm going to level with you now. I don't look up build orders. I mean, I've watched a couple of episodes, or not even a couple of episodes. Like I think it's just like 10 minutes of is it Pigs Bronze to GM, and I've taken away like a few basic ideas. But I'm really enjoying the process of uploading, playing the game, uploading it, getting the live feedback, improving for the next game. For me, the destination is very much the journey and hearing everybody's inputs and getting their advice and suggestions. And who knows, I might discover something or some sort of tactic that works that typically shouldn't work on paper, but might work because people aren't expecting it. That would be cool and fun. But yeah, that's the build that I'm using. And what I like about it is it's a macro build, right? So it's all about getting your workers down and just getting resources in so you can build units and then react to stuff rather than and I've got no problem playing against people that do the sort of quote-unquote cheese builds where you just drop 2 or 3 barracks outside their base and just rush them with marines or marauders or whatever. That's fine, but I feel like you don't really learn how to play the game, and even if you win, I kind of feel like you lose to your opponent because you've given your opponent an opportunity to learn how to just counter this cheese, right? There's going to be an easy counter to that cheese, and that's kind of why it works. So, and this is just me. I'm not a Starcraft pro. I'm not even really a Starcraft veteran. I've owned it for a few years, and I've played the odd game on and off, but I've only really been seriously playing for the last, what is it? We're on episode like 65 at the moment, so what's that? 2 months and a bit. So, yeah, I think if you watch like loco videos and stuff like that, you see that most of those games develop into a sort of mid and late game. And if you haven't mastered the basics of how to macro expand and how to have a thriving economy and how to deal with pushes and drops and sneak attacks and harassments and stuff, then you're never really going to get to that level. You're just chasing an arbitrary MMR number. So that's the build that I use, and that's, I guess, kind of the reason why. You didn't ask me the reason why, but you got it anyway. How long is the delay between you playing a game and it getting uploaded? It varies. Sometimes it is like literally this is the game I played yesterday. So the like absolute minimum it will be a few hours. Maximum it's been about a week at the moment. And yeah, you know, StarCraft 1v1 is the thing on the channel. You've probably noticed that it does go up every day. I think I've missed one in the last 2.5 months. And that's because I was away out of the country, so I just did not have the facility to record another episode. I actually, annoyingly, I recorded one too few and didn't realise I was landing until 1 AM, which was an hour after the episode comes out. So yeah, I've missed one in the last 2 and a bit months, but typically anywhere between 24 hours and 7 days. The storyteller asks, your time has come, but death allows you to use the old rule. You can play one game against death for your life. Which game do you choose? I would probably try and game the system and download one of those like idle tycoon games on my phone, because I'll just continue to get a high score irrespective of actually playing the game, and then I'm not then trapped in the world playing a game. I can just go about and do my own thing, and as long as my phone's charged, I'm technically still in the game. The storyteller again asks, would I rather fight one horse-sized duck or 15 duck-sized horses? I'm going to have to go for the 15 duck-sized horses on the assumption that these are still mentally horses who are terrified of humans and human interaction, so I can just run at them, pick them off one by one, and the worst they're going to do is kick me, but they'll be tiny and feeble, so it's not even going to matter. Deputer asks, are you ever going to play Civ 5? I already play Civ 5. Civ 5 is the game that I have on my laptop, so that whenever I'm on flights or travelling or whatever and I'm not working, I load up Civ 5 and I continue on whatever the last game is that I played. If the answer is yes, which it is, what do I think of Civ 6? I don't think anything of Civ 6 at the moment. When it comes to certain franchises, Civilization being one of them, usually Total War as well, I try not to look at the news and the media and the complaints and the feedback and all that stuff from people, because I don't want to have an opinion on it until I buy it and experience it for myself. So yeah, I don't have any opinions on Civ 6 at the moment. Sorry, that's because I deliberately try and stay away from the news for that kind of stuff. Zerev asks, what is the probability that sometime this year you begin using army hotkeys? I am hoping that you have noticed that I've used army hotkeys in the last couple of games. It does make life a lot easier. There was a game that I uploaded recently, in fact it might be today's, but then I don't know what day this video is coming out. I think this video is coming out tomorrow. Where I was managing an army on attack and an army at home dealing with a Nidus worm. So yeah, obviously there's a huge strategic bonus. I think my APM was particularly high for that game as well, which is pretty cool. But yeah, no, army hotkeys are happening now, and I'm going to continue to try to use them to take on board that feedback that you give me. A Piece of Butter asks, when do you intend on setting up hotkeys, because the longer you wait, the harder it will get to adapt to it, and the more you'll fall behind. Or sorry, the more you'll be behind. So we've had conversations in the YouTube comments about this one actually, and what A Piece of Butter is asking here is about a custom hotkey setup, I think, where you use like all the stuff on the left-hand side of the keyboard. And you know, I've explained, and I'll publicly explain again, just in case anybody else has the same question. I think I'm okay with the standard hotkey setup. You know, I'm not trying to become a StarCraft 2 professional. I'm not going to go to any tournaments. I'm not going to do like a Las Vegas Open or like a Korean tournament or anything like that and go and win huge prize money. I'm just playing for fun. So if I can memorize, it's just taken me 2 months and a bit to memorize the majority of the hotkeys for Terran as it is, and I'm a 6'1" guy, and my hand can, I'm just putting it on the keyboard now, can go from the control key to the P key, then yeah, I think I can get everything with the left hand. So that's not a particular thing that's high on my agenda to change. That seems like taking a step backwards before there is any real benefit. Sebastian asks, tips for 30-something gamer dads. Oh dude, where to start? Yeah, so being a dad is rough. When Ted was born, my son, he here's the thing, if there's guys listening to this, right? Because at some point, assuming that you are a straight guy that wants to have a life and children with a woman, there's going to be a point where that woman becomes pregnant, right? And they are going to be hard work for 9 months. And rightly they should be, because they're growing and gestating another human being inside them. But you don't really acknowledge, because you might put your hand on the belly and feel the kicks and all that jazz, but you don't really acknowledge that until you see a head popping out at the business end, you don't really acknowledge that there is another human on this planet that you are responsible to keep alive, feed, nurture, cherish, and educate. And the weight of that can be completely overwhelming. Like, I am not embarrassed to say that after Ted was born, I had anxiety attacks, I had a mental breakdown every other week, I was making terrible decisions in life, and it changes your perspective on everything, absolutely everything. And I used to hate people that used to use that line, oh, you don't have a kid, you don't understand. Which is kind of true and not true in some ways, depending on who you're speaking to. Tips for a gamer dad, just, when you've got time, because let's be honest, the people that are watching these videos are probably Western cultured people where work is super important and earning money and providing for your family is the main thing, and that's great. But when you've got a bit of free time, make that free time count. Don't just lay on the sofa and watch TV with them. Do something with them. Challenge them educationally. Build, play, roughhouse. Like the amount of studies I've read where roughhousing or play fighting with your kids and having a few nicks and bumps and stuff is so good for their early development. I cannot tell you the impact that has with me and Ted. So yeah, there's my advice. Do that. A Piece of Butter asks, do I like potatoes? I don't know if you like potatoes or not. I can tell you that I love potatoes, because you can.
Boil them, mash them, stick them in a stew.
The Storyteller asks, Discord Starcraft tournament when? Whenever you want to set it up. The less work I could do in organising that, the better. So yeah, whenever you want to set it up, I'll be there. A Piece of Butter asks, Starcraft, do you want to 1v1 me? I mean, yeah, sure. There's probably like a deeper question here, or like a deeper assumption on the Discord server that is, I think people join just because they want to beat somebody that they've seen on YouTube, which is crazy. But I honestly do not mind losing. I'd rather lose on a private match to somebody in the Discord server that's given me a few views and learn from that than do a couple of ranked games and get beaten by a Smurf. So yeah, I'm happy to play whoever. The biggest bottleneck for me is always going to be time. So when people comment on YouTube videos saying, hey, can we get a game in? I'd love to play you. I'm also a similar rank, or I'm also on this same sort of StarCraft journey. Then the answer is always yes. It's just the bottleneck for me is time. The Storyteller asks, obviously you want to improve forever, but is there a certain rank that you'll be satisfied if you hit? If so, what? I mean, I think rank structures, MMR, and all that kind of jazz is important, but to me it's kind of immaterial, right? So I could be Platinum 1 tomorrow, and it wouldn't really change my life in any way, shape, or form. It's not like I'm making money from it, or I intend to go into tournaments or whatever. I think the real objective for me, that where I'll be satisfied, is where I can load up a game and know that I've got a reasonable chance of holding my own, not even winning, just holding my own, against pretty much any opponent for at least 5 to 6 minutes. That's where I would feel good. Benisman asked, why Terran? Terran was the race that I played, StarCraft 1 campaign first, StarCraft 2 campaign, and just felt like the easiest one to learn, pick up, from a me being really dumb perspective. I know what humans do. I know what they look like. If I build a tank, I've got a rough idea of what it's going to be capable of. They all have sort of pretty simple names like Scout or Reaper or Medic. And I know some of these units are not in the online multiplayer rotation now, but back when I was playing, that's what I used to play. So yeah, kind of made the most sense. Heyman asked, how did you get into StarCraft 2? When did you start? What are your goals for the future in StarCraft 2? And have you watched any StarCraft 2 pro plays? I wanted to include this question, but I feel like I've already answered it. So thank you very much for the question, Heyman. I'm going to move on to the next one. A Piece of Butter asked, how many questions do you intend on answering? I have no idea. Add up all the questions in this video, comment the number down below. Appreciate it, thank you. Alandar asks, como equiparas el tiempo entre el juego y tu familia, which I think means, how do you balance time between gaming and your family? I go to bed at 11 o'clock every night and I get up at 8 a.m. Roughly speaking, is what I try to achieve. And yeah, I try and block record. So if I've got like a spare 2-3 hours in the day, I'll try and block record like 6 or 7 episodes of something. And then the next day, if I've got another hour and a half or whatever, I'll try and record a few more episodes of something else. And that's how I kind of keep the content dripping out constantly. I know people say on YouTube that you should just have weekly releases and do like a video a day or whatever. But I kind of like that there's a lot of content going up there in quick succession, and I don't feel like I'm particularly burning myself out. Work's not suffering, family life's not suffering, so yeah, that's how I balance it. And again, like somebody, Sebastian asked earlier, tips for being a dad, it kind of boils down to that. When you've got time, make that time count. Don't be lazy and just sit on the sofa and watch TV. Go to the park, go to the shop, go to the pub, take the little one with you. Because the adventures are what they remember. They do not remember, or they will remember, sorry. This is just my feelings on it. I'm not a veteran dad. I've got a 4-year-old. But I don't ever want him to think our dad was always at work or laying on the sofa watching TV with me, because that might feel quite resentful. So yeah, I try and make the time count. Now, that's not to say I'm perfect. There's plenty of time where I lay on the sofa with Ted, but yeah, we try and make it count in different ways. Like, you know, okay, what do you want to watch? What should we watch together? What's collaborative that we can do? Shall we do your magnetic shape? Shall we do a marble run? Shall we, you know, do stuff with our hands? That's the kind of hands-on, like, building is good for boys, I find. So, or at least my boy, that is. But yeah, that's how I balance that up. So look, thank you so much everyone for all of your questions. I appreciate it more than I can possibly tell you. What a fantastic 2 months it's been in terms of subscribers and views and comments and likes and shares. From the bottom of my heart, I just want to say thank you so much. If you didn't get a question in, don't worry. I'd love to do another one of these sometime. I don't know what arbitrary number we're going to put on it, but yeah, it's definitely going to happen. And yeah, I guess popping up on your screen now will be some other videos that I hope you are interested in. Please do check them out and let me know what you think. And until next time, bye for now.